Born. So if I start with you, William, when were you born?
At home.
Right.
Oh, sorry, Hammersmith.
Hammersmith.
Yeah.
And what year was that?
The 10th. Wait a minute. My birthday is the 10th.
21.
Okay, now. I've got to think for a
How old
second.
are
It's
you?
all right, I'll soon have it. The 2nd of the 2nd, 1920.
Wonderful, thank you. And Maurice, what about you?
I was born on the 5th of February 1923,
1923. And where was that?
Ramsgate in Kent.
Okay. And Pat?
I was born on the 12th of May 1924.
Okay. And where were you born?
I was born at a place called Glen Craig in Fifeshire in Scotland.
Wonderful, thank you. And is that where you spent your childhood?
No. When I was 2.5 years of age, my father emigrated to Canada and he took me with him.
Okay, so you
I
grew
spent all my educational days and childhood in Canada.
Okay, what about you, Maurice? Did you grow up in
I
Ramsgate?
spent all my childhood in Ramsgate, yeah.
Okay. And William, did you spend all your childhood in Hammersmith?
Yep. All around that way.
Okay. And I'm going to ask you, do any of you remember having teddy bears?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did when I was very small.
Can you remember anything about it?
Yeah, they had the feet had a piece of leather on them, and the hands, you know, and that was more or less the things, and the eyes. That was okay, yeah.
And what size was it? Can you remember? Was it a big one or a little one?
Oh, no, only I suppose about a foot high. That's all.
Okay. What about you?
Mine
Mark?
was about the same as that. I can't remember it, only vaguely. But it was about the same size. And
Do you know
I think they're all brown, aren't they, teddy bears? I can't remember.
most of them? Most of them. Do you know where it came from?
No, I wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean, from where it was made?
No, just who gave it to you.
From my parents. Would be from my parents.
What about you, Pat? Do you remember having one?
No, I never had any teddy bear. At least I don't remember ever having any teddy bear.
I know if you pushed its belly, it you know, growled.
Okay. One of the other things we're asking people about is dolls. Now, when I say dolls, I don't necessarily mean baby dolls.
No.
So, did anyone have any toys that were pretending to be people? So that could be dolls, it could
Yeah.
be soldiers.
Yeah.
What did you have?
I had a gollywog,
Okay.
and that in them days we used to have. My Aunt Alice, who lived under us, she used to wear black stockings, and the body of it was made of the stockings, and then the head, and you know, she made it, and the mouth and the eyes were buttons sewn in, you know, and all that, and it was quite nice. And as I say, in them days we never had all this nonsense about what you get today.
Right.
The gollywog was something, just like the black and white minstrel shows, you see.
Yeah. So what about either you, Maurice and Pat?
Well, I used to have soldiers in the fort, but I used to have battles with my brother. You know, he was a bit older than me. But he used to win all the time.
Yeah, you used to be able to buy them the soldiers would be on a strip of cardboard, so many, and then there'd be horses, and they'd have a lance, and it moved, their arms moved up and down. That was made of lead.
Okay.
And then it was painted, beautiful colours, you know. And then you had the fort, well, that's it. That was a wooden fort up in the square. It had the thing what went up and down, you know, the drawbridge and all that kind of thing. And you built round it, if you know what I mean.
I do. So, with your fort, is that something that someone would have bought for you, or do you think someone made it for you?
That would have been made by my Uncle George, you know. He was a carpenter, and he made it, and it was just, you know, the chains and the little half round hooks what went in, and you could lower it up and down, and, you know, and it's that as you done things, you know. And of course, going to the films in them days, you saw out there the different forts and that where the Muslims were, and you kind of copied it.
Okay, what about either Maurice or Pat? Maurice, you were saying about soldiers.
Yeah, I had some soldiers in a fort, and it was a replica of the famous Fort Apache, where this was in America, Fort Apache, and it was the place that was held after, I'm sure most people have heard of the Battle of the Little Bighorn, and this was the only defensive position left to the Americans, and they were being followed up by over 1,000 yards away by these Iroquois Indians. And the whole theme of the thing was that this trooper was walking round the ramparts of the fort, and this Iroquois Indian is standing on the cliff, on the cliff top, and he fires this rifle, and it's a French rifle. It's called La Longue Carbine, and it kills this trooper walking round the fort, and it's the furthest that anybody was ever shot by a rifle. It was 1,300 yards. And I was giving that by an old friend of mine for a Christmas present, who was also a Scot and also had emigrated to Canada.
Okay, and again, was that a bought thing, the fort, or was it a bought thing, the fort, or a made thing? Do you know?
Well, it was a replica of a lumber fort.
And
Okay.
when you was about 3 or 2, it was always known you had a wooden horse on a platform, 4 wheels, and the horse stood there with the 4 legs, the body, the head, and the handles, and you pushed that along as a kid, and there you are. That by the time you'd finished with it, you'd had a brother born or a sister, and they played with it.
And is that something that was made for you?
No, they could be made, but they were brought.
Okay. And then it was passed on to brothers and sisters.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, do you think that most of your toys were new, or did they come from, I don't know if you had older brothers or sisters, or...
No, I was the eldest. What I had was new.
Okay, so it was new to you and then passed on.
See, in them days, girl, if I try and put your mind at rest, there wasn't much going. And a Christmas stocking in them days was an apple and an orange inside. And that was more or less the thing. And then paper chains, which you could buy a packet. They were strips of paper, and they cost, I think, about sixpence or something like that for about 20 odd papers or 25. And we never had paste like we got today, but Mum used to get flour and water, and what used to happen was you put a bit of paste on one length of paper. They were all coloured papers. You put a bit on one, and then you doubled it round to make a circle, and it stuck. You know.
Yeah, got you.
And then you get the next one. A colour, different colour. You thread it through, and you do that. And in the end, you got a paper chain, all different colours. We made our paper chains. And then you had a drawer pin, and up on the ceiling, of course in them days we had wooden ceilings, tug and groove, and you just pushed it, the drawing pin and that up there. And you could buy from Woolies, because in them days it was a 10 and 5 store. You could go in there and buy a little bell, you know, paper bell, what opened, ever so small. It only cost a couple of coppers, and you get about, we managed to get about half a dozen of them, and as the paper chains ended, you had one of them up there, and that's how it was. Then there was a lantern you could make out of paper, you see, and that hung up, but you never put a candle in it. It was just a paper-coloured lantern.
Okay.
You could buy them in Woolworths, you see, only footpence. But you could go to Woolworths and spend 5 shillings or more on an article. But like a swing, you buy the ropes, then you buy the seat, then you buy that, and build it all up, and the screws. See,
Okay, so you'd be putting it together
yeah, that's right.
yourself. And actually, that was the other thing I wanted to talk about, was about construction toys, about, you know, things that you made.
Oh, yes.
So I think that's a really good example of one, isn't it?
The great thing, I think all the boys today, they'll remember, it was new for us, was the Meccano set.
Yes.
That was marvellous. If you got one of them, you was made. That they had different sizes, but as a kid you just had a small one. You had the screws, and there you are. You had the pieces of tin. They were all colours, and they had holes in them. And all you done, you had little round wheels, and you could make a crane out of it. See, you put them together and build the. If you imagine the little different pieces of a plate, they're flat and they got holes in them. So all you got to do is get another one, put to it, and then put the screw and screw it up. So you had a little jar with screws and all that, and then as you got other things, you added to it from the oil shop, and you had you could build all kinds of things. You know, make a crane, and on the end you'd have the little handle you made, and you just turn it, and that'd lift up a log and that. And if you got a railway train, you know, a little railway vulture, a train, as it came round, it stopped. Then you could have little trunks of trees which you got from the only branches. And what I used to do was cut them, and there you are. You could paint them brown and all that, and then do them up in bundles, and you lift them up and lower them onto the carriage as it got there. You know, it's all kids' play and mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Maurice, Pat, did you have Meccano?
We had a Meccano, yeah, that was quite a craze in those days. All the boys, you know.
Oh yeah, when it got big, there's some marvellous things made.
What did you make, Maurice?
We had a Hornby train set, which my brother and I, and my dad used to make, we used to make things like bridges and all that sort of thing, tunnels for the trains, you know. And we used to try to make motor cars and all that.
See, it was easy enough to copy because all you wanted was a flat bit of wood, and then you got another bit of wood and and put on for the bonnet, for the front, you had a bonnet, and then you put the square bits on the back, and you made a little car on the wheels, and you put a piece of metal through, and of course that's it. You was shown, you know, and you made your own little car, and then you went one stage further. You could paint it, but there you are. And then you had and then there was also, you could buy from the shops the little wooden train engine. All it was a flat bit of wood, a narrow bit underneath for a wheel each side, a narrow bit for a wheel each at the end. That was the base. Then you had a round bit, which was the engine, you know, the engine part, and then you built up the cab, and then you put the little bit up and round where the coal bunker was. You know, it's your idea. You've done these little things, and you improved on them as you went.
That's what I was going to ask you, because I think some people who played with Meccano would just follow the instructions that came in the little booklet, and other people would make up their own ideas and their own designs.
Oh yes, that's it. You can follow, and then you improve on it. You know, this was what it was all about. It's like when I was at school, we sat down. The first school I went to, I was only about 4. You go in there, and when you sat down, all round the class on the walls, it's a shame somebody broke into our place. I'd have loved to have had them. You could have seen them, but where we sat in our little desks in the inkwell, on the wall would be a man, where the higher class school had painted that, and underneath it had man. Then you went to the next picture, and there would be a ball, and underneath would be ball. Then it would be cat, then it'd be dog, then it'd be car. So all round that room, you're a little boy of 3 or 4, and you've got all those things you can look at. And then she'd also asked you with the rule. She'd say, "Right, Billy, what is that?" And you'd say, "Cat, miss." And then she'd point to the next one. She'd say, "What is that?" Of course, it's a man. I'll say a man. And it's all those kind of things, and that's how we learned.
Yeah.
And then we stood all round the class. We got up out of our desks, stood all the way round, and then she'd start and ask one to spell. And I'll always remember it. If you didn't spell it, I was asked to spell milk, and I couldn't spell M-I-L-K, milk. And what happened was, when it came to dinner time, that's when you went out for a couple of hours till 2 o'clock from 12. You stayed there, and in your book, you had to put on the top your name and that was your little book there, and you put milk across there about 5 times. Then you went underneath again 5 times, and you filled that page up. You must have done about 25 times. M-I-L-K, milk, M-I-L-K, milk. And then, when you finished, you just shut the book up, put it on her desk, and you went off out.
Right.
And that's it. She'd look at it, and that's how you carried on.
Yeah. So, Pat, did you have Meccano or?
Yes, I had a Meccano set. It was a bought thing, but it wasn't something that I could sort of do like what Maurice did. Add to it. You had certain pieces and mechanical things that you used, like lifts, things like that. And quite honestly, putting that together to get it to work, You didn't need anything else.
So what did you used to make out of it?
Well, this was a coal mine with the thick lift going up and down and getting the coal up, and it came down. Then there was a tray there where the tubs ran down and emptied whatever you put up ever you wanted in the tubs. But it was supposed to be coal, and to take it down onto this platform where there was a low-loaded wagon that you put together yourself with the mechanical bits, and that just took it away. Don't ask me where it took it away.
So it was a coal mine?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's another thing, love. What used to happen to us when we were about 8 or 9, you go down to the shoe shop and ask for a shoe box, empty one.
Yeah.
And when you got it, you cut little holes in it, perhaps about 7, and you put over the little holes numbers 2, 5, 4, 3, or whatever it was. And then we used to put that on the path. The path was very nice in them days, and you got in the gutter, and then you charge a boy 2 cards to have a go. In other words, he gave you 2 picture cards. They used to be thrown away. They used to be in players' boxes and thrown away. And silver paper and that we saved. And if he got it in 4, I had to give him 4 cards back. But of course, we were cunning in them days. We made the holes tight. Of course, they had marbles, and it wanted some getting in, you know what I mean? So,
I do.
So, you know, you learn always in them days. And then, for another thing, I used to cut the top, and then I'd stick a coloured paper in. Lovely. It all done nicely. And then I'd turn it upside down, and then I'd cut photos out, because you could always get photos off of all kinds of things, what was sold and that, dogs and everything. And I make something up, and soldiers, and I stick them on so that when you look through the box at the end, you know, the side, 2 holes, you could look through it, and what with the colour on the top of the box, it was a nice colour. You're looking in a technicolor, aren't you? And you can see a horse perhaps grazing, or cut, you know, what you cut out of something, or photos and that. I used to get those saucy cards, you know, what come from the seaside.
Yeah.
And I used to put different ones of them in and charge them 2 cards to have a look. So I always had a nice lot of cards. Of course, those cards were 50 in a set. But if you got a set, there you are. And that's how you know, that's the kind of thing you got up to as a kid.
How to make money as a child?
Me?
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Because when I was young, you see these medals today, what are being sold and that, and that, they're bringing pounds, aren't they?
Yeah.
And the ones from the Boer War, my wife's father, he was out there in the Boer War. Well, that was in the 18th century. And when he came home, I had a photo of him, and that vanished. You know, it's bloody annoying. Some sots got it, because them photos, they're saving photos today, and they're getting money on them now, all that kind of nonsense. And he's in his red suit, you know, and there he is wearing the medals. It's 2 medals, and all the different names are bars, and there was 5 bars if you'd been out there, and he had the 5 bars and that. Now, when he came home, typical of the country as it is, oh yes, we've had the men, they go out, they fight. He comes back, oh, we don't, it took 3 months to get back, you know.
Yeah, ship.
To England because of ships.
Yeah.
And there wasn't no bloody airplanes and all that nonsense then. And when he came back, oh, we'll put you on a reserve. See? We're not going to keep you in the army. So now he's on the reserve and he's still got a job.
Yeah.
So he was a plumber before, so he's a plumber now. But what happens? Within about, well, another thing about the medals, his wife has got the medals. So now when it comes to, he's gone to work, it comes to Monday, I as a kid used to go round to the different ladies, anything for the pawn shop. We called him uncles. And she'd say, oh yes, take this one, Billy, and I'll get an halfpenny for taking a parcel down.
Yeah.
Or she'd say, now look after them medals. Now she'd get £3 for them. Think I've seen them sold for 1,000.
Yeah.
Honest. And she got £3 for them. And then when I go round the next week, I'm collecting them to take back. She's got to pay 3p on it.
Of course.
£3 free. Well, she might say, oh, leave them in for next week. Well, next week, she's got to pay £3.6.
Yeah.
So it goes up. And come to finish, they leave them in.
Yeah, of course.
And then these sods, what in the know, they're in there buying the medals when they're finished at the end of the year, buying all that stuff up, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And then that's the kind of thing what went on. And that's one way I earned money. Another way, I used to help Joe the Coleman. I was about 8 or 9 at the time. I had quite a walk down from Olympia to Warwick Road, and when I got down there, we'd get Patsy the horse out. She had lovely white socks, a towel and a lovely mane, ever so lovely and gentle, and he'd put her in the harness. We'd go alongside the trains, and then you got the blokes what of filling up the coal sacks, they weighed and put on. You're doing what they call trucking. You're going around the streets selling. He'd only have a few underweights on, the others will be all half underweights. And he also had scales underneath. And then you used to have the weights and measure man ride round. And when they pulled up in their car, he'd say, I'll have that sack down there, and he'd had to get hold of it and put it on their scales to make sure that it's the right weight. Well, we go round selling, and you get a woman say, I want it up here, and you're going up about 10 steps and then another 10 steps to the top. And he takes you take 100 weight up there, and I never carried, the Coleman did then, I carried the half underweights as a boy. And he'd tip it, and she'd suddenly say, oh, that's enough. See, she's got him to take the bloody coal up and tip it in a bin there, and the rest went down in the coal hole.
Right.
And that's that. And I would then, as I say, get the sacks, and if somebody wanted 4, there used to be in the pavement a round manhole.
Yeah.
So when you tipped it down there, underneath was 2 cellars for the people who lived at the top like we did. Of course, in them days, we never had an house, although it was you wouldn't council. We lived in. You started at number 1. It went up to us 28, but we lived in the top flat. That was a family. Underneath us was Aunt Alice, down underneath them was the water, was another lady, and then the other people down the cellar went down backwards and then into their place, and you went up steps and that. And when you got up to the hall floor, that's the first floor, what was over the basement,
Yeah.
that's it. That was where another family lived. Well, as I say, you had Marshy, Mrs. Lucas next door. She had a family. Underneath was Marshes. Underneath them was the Ellises, and then the Cases. And that's how it went down the road, Shepherds and all that.
Yeah.
And that's how you lived there. And if you wanted to clean your windows, you lifted them up and you sat on the windowsill and pulled the window up and down. It went on weights.
Mm.
And if the sash cord went, you lifted it up, or I learned how to do it, and then you brought it inside and went down the oil shop, and you got a new cord and put it on the weight and that, just tacked it in, and then you put the window back out again.
Yeah.
And
Just-
up it
just-
went.
Just to think again about, you know, sort of like making things, I just wanted to sort of like, you know, bring Maurice and Pat back in again. Was there anything else that you made that you can remember?
Yeah.
Yeah,
As a-
I just want to
as
hear
a-
from Maurice for a minute. Give you a moment, William.
Oh.
Maurice, anything
I
else?
can't remember what I used to make. Well, my dad he was an engineer, he used to make things for us. But I used to work to earn money when I got a bit older.
Yeah.
Well, when I was very small, we had been by the seaside. My mum used to let some rooms to these people in the show. They used to have these shows on the theatre, you know. And we had a load of midgets show once, these tiny little people.
Yeah.
And I used to hire out my fairy cycle, which was my possession, prized possession. And they used to give me a penny for riding it for so long, you know.
Okay. You said you grew up in Ramsgate, didn't you?
Yeah.
So does Ramsgate have a beach?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, did you play on the beach?
We used to go on the beach a lot, yeah.
And when you were on the beach, did you used to build? I'm trying to remember whether Ramsgate's stone or
Sand it is.
it's sand.
Yeah.
So did you build things in the sand?
Oh, yeah, castles and that. Castles and... One thing, perhaps I shouldn't tell you really, but when we got a bit older, we'd go in swimming and we'd change under the bathing station because we didn't want to pay. And there was a man come along selling peanuts. And we used to dig a hole in the sand, put a newspaper over the top, sprinkle sand over the top, and he'd come along shouting out, "Peanuts!" And he went down this hole, only one leg, and we all shouted out, "Fresh roasted."
Brilliant.
But that was one of the things we used to do.
Well, if that's not a construction toy, I don't know what is.
See, and you said about making money. Well, as I say, I went with the Coleman, and that all snood around. And when he pulled up at the pub, there was always a pub at one end of the street and Old License the other. And when he pulled up, he used to say, "I'll get you a lemonade, William, and an arrowroot biscuit." And that was good enough. And then my Aunt Alice had come out with a bucket to give the horse a drink. But then that's when I used to sweep, and as I say, make money. I used to sweep the car. I used to do all the bags. They'd be at the back on the left-hand side. I'd rope it over. The scales were underneath. The shovel was up there, and I'd get the broom and I'd sweep all the dust up and put in a bucket. That's all coal dust. And one or two knobs, while I was going round, I used to take a knob out here and a knob out there. So when I was cleaning the van up, she had a bucket there, or my mum did, of coal. Got me?
Yeah.
And that was that. And then the thing was, with that was the Coleman where I used to get it, and I'd go back with him and all that nonsense. But there was the other things to it. You see, you had the man what came round with the fair. He had a roundabout on a little trolley. A donkey pulled it, but if one kid went out with old clothes, you know, he'd have to wait till somebody else went out with something, because if he started turning it round, it'd tip over. Honest, this is the truth. And if it happened to happen sometimes, you know, the women in the street would come out and help him to lift that bloody roundabout up onto the lorry, onto the van again. And, you know, it was a different life, and people just can't see it and know about it.
Yeah.
And I used to also, as I say, with the go down to the market early in the morning and help the blokes to pull their barrows out. They were underneath the arches. They used them as workshops. Some motor car people were in them. Others were just left, and they had them. The market boys did with their barrows, and you pull their barrow out down along the road where you lived, and that's it. When you pulled it out, you got it chopped up and everything, and of course the people walked along on the path, and that's where the bloke stood and weighed everything up, and the buses just went along the back, alongside of it, and you got money for that. And you also you had a big place where all their old wood could go, and you know, the boxes. So they would take it. You took them round there, but although you had a barrow, as I said, I made a barrow, and it was a two-wheel barrow with the shafts and that. I also had a four-wheel one with a box on it, and we never done each other up, because if we did, then we sat about each other for, you know, taking stuff. And where all this stuff was taken, while you were helping them and working with them, you take anything, you know, the rubbish, the boxes and all that, and chuck it round, and it's cleared on a Sunday by the council. That's something going back to one of the King's days, what they granted that nonsense. And what we used to do was go round there for half an hour, sort out the different boxes, and believe you me, if you saw some of the wood what came with oranges in, you couldn't use that, but others you could. So I used to break them up and put them on my barrow and leave it there. Another bloke would do something with his barrow, all boys, but you never knock anything off of each other.
Yeah.
That'd be it. And that's what we used to do. And then I'd come back and he'd say, "Oh, Billy, I've got a lot of cauliflowers in. I want you to serve them today." He'd give me an apron. He'd give me 5 bob in small change. That's threepenny bits, you know, tanner and all that. You're learning all the time, you see.
Yeah.
Money you're adding up, and farthings and halfpenny, you know, 4 farthings, 1 penny, you know, 2 halfpennies, 1 penny, and 12 pennies, 1 shilling. And we did that. We were learning all the time, and they were only kids of 7 and 8, and I'd stand there and here's some of her with everything, and she'd come up and say, "Oh, I want 3 cauliflowers." Well, you know what a cauliflower is today. 3 cauliflowers, 3 for 6. Tuppence each. But he told me, always give her 2 little ones and a big one. And
Right.
I'd fill, see? And then I'd have a knife in my pocket, not like the sods today, and I'd have it hanging on my belt, and I'd just cut them big leaves what cover it up over, put them in a box, and that was my bunts. People used to come down because they kept rabbits in the garden, you know, in a box, in the shed, and they used to say, "Oh, have you got any greens?" I used to say, "Yeah, there's a box there," and I'd say, "Oh, that's 2pence." and that he never worried about that. What I made on that was my money.
Yeah.
See, and he also gave me a bloody good all the veg, and I went home with veg and everything, fruit and that, and the wood. So you know, there was all those things. You were doing that all the time. So, you know, and as I say, our friend here who lived on the coast, our people only went down the seaside once a year, and that'd be a Beano or Dad's outing, you know, from the pub when they play darts. And do you know, we'd go, this is the truth, we'd all go out and we'd go to Southend, Margate, Ramsgate, and we never went no farther because it was up there where what's name is now. So we never got up to there, but we used to go in the Cherrybank, they called it them days, and also you could get on at Hammersmith, and for sixpence you're right up there by Tower Bridge. Now they never had the what's name there then, the big to stop the flooding and that. Of course, all along there...
Thames barrier.
Barrier.
Yeah.
Well, all along there in them days, every time it was high tide, there was floods. The bloody houses were flooded. Oh, yes. And also, you jump on the pleasure boats, and they're famous for, during the Second World War, going over, bringing the boys back and all that. Boats and anything what went. But the Daffodil was one I can remember. And you jumped on it, and when you got on it, that was it. Mum and Dad, they'd be down, we'd be looking and seeing all the, as we went right through London. So you went through the Dockland, and that's where all Britain's life was then, coming up there with the boats and all that. And then when I was a young boy, you used to have a tug come up, and when the tug went under the bridge, Hammersmith Bridge, he had to pull his chimney down, and it used to go, and I've often heard my mum say, "Oh, that's a sign of rain." And on the back of on the back of that tug, on the back of that tug would be, on the back of that tug would be four or six barges. And as they come along, them barges will be full of cement bags, sand, ballast, wood, coal. And as they come all the way along, where the boat race comes now, right along there, by Hammersmith where we were, they'd ease up, and then they'd undo one, and them bargemen were good. And they just drifted over to the side, and that's where it'll be anchored. And that's where they'd unload it then. And when they got up to Brentford, they'd do the same again by Kew Bridge. And the lorries used to back in then and get the cement and take it off somewhere and all that.
Yeah.
And that's how it was in them days, that life and that.
Yeah. I just want to ask Pat, actually, because, you know, you've been talking, William, about, you know, the sea and the river, and Maurice has mentioned the sea. You said you grew up in Canada, Pat. Anywhere near the sea?
I lived on the banks of the St. Lawrence River.
Which river?
The St. Lawrence River.
Okay.
That's not the longest river in the world. It's not the widest river in the world, but it has more volume of water flowing through it than any other river in the world. So it was a huge river. It flows 24 feet thick in the winter. And when the winter was starting to come on, to be a gang of us kids, we'd tip off sacks. The first bit of snow that came down, we'd go up and down, and slide. And as soon as it was hard enough, we would get on there with our skates. And we'd go down this, and some of us would take it 10 miles out into the river. One fella came on, the problem was you had to skate all the way back, and by the time you skated all the way back, you didn't want to go down that hill again that day. But this fella came on, John Hagan, I'll never forget him. It was just like a blind. he's got it on his, what's that then, John? He says, you'll see. And off we went. And then as we were skating back, here he comes back, it's like a little sail he's come back with. So we all tried to make the same kind of sail. We were never as successful as John was. That was a bit of fun, really.
So would you say that a lot of your play was outside play?
Yeah, most decidedly.
You played ice hockey, didn't you?
Yeah, I was an ice hockey player, and that's where I learned to play. I always remember I was about 8 or 9 years of age, and the skates that you bought for kids, they weren't very substantial, they weren't very, very strong. So it wasn't as easy for you to go down the slope with these skates. Till one day, one of these fellas' father came along, and he was an ex-ice hockey player. He played for Montreal Canadiens, and he said, what you young guys need is some cheese cutters. So I was swearing at us, cheese cutters. It was amazing. They were like a roller skate, but instead of wheels on, were blades on the side. So there was more support now, and that's how I started going down there. Then we'd clear a little space of snow away on the river, and we'd start up a little ice hockey match, and that's where I learned to play. When I came back to Scotland, to the town I came to, they were building an ice rink, and they put an advert in the paper. Did any kids be interested in learning how to play ice hockey? Well, my brother and I were pretty good ice hockey players, so we more or less formed the nucleus of the junior side. And within about 18 months, we got this other fella, just like us. He was a Scot. We brought him. His name was Bruce Mackenzie, and he was better. He was even better than us. And that year, when we formed our team and we entered the Scottish Junior League, we won the Scottish Junior Championship 2 years running. And one day the coach came along and he said, Pat, he says, how would you like to play for the Vikings on Monday night? That was the professional side. Oh, I said, yeah. So I got into the professional side, and that night I scored 3 goals, and I was in the professional team till I was called up.
Mm.
So that's my history as a kid, really.
So how old were you when you came back?
I was 14 years of age.
Okay. So all of your childhood was in Canada then?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was educated in Canada. Yeah. That's why I'm such a dumbbell.
So any other thoughts about, things that you made or things that you played with? Or do you think you've come to a sort of halt with what you can remember and what you want to share with us?
Well, the girls used to, of course there wasn't many cars in them days, only the milk churn going along, but the girls used to have a skipping rope that went across the road, and one of them each end would be turning it, and anything up to 14 girls would all keep going in and skipping until one of them upset it, and then they'd go out. And us boys used to think it was great to get in there, and do you know, if we busted it up, of course, and do you know them girls used to give us what for? None of this going home to mum crying. They came and gave you a bloody good hiding, and yeah, and nothing like that. And then we used to play whipping top. You could put in you could have a top what's shaped, like a pear, and it got a meg in it. Well, we used to take the meg out to put horse manure in it to make it and I always remember doing that. And you put the piece of string on, and then you throw it, and it doesn't half go round, and you can pick it up on your hand, and it tickles the hand, and all that nonsense. Well, with a whipping top, you start that and you whip it down the road, and then somebody down the road will see it and kick it from 5, and you, oh dear, oh Lord. My mum would send me down. She'd say, right, Bill, nip down to the on a Sunday. I'll get Dad the paper. I'll get him a book of AGs. That's a half ounce of nosegay, a book of AG papers, and then I'll go round to the other place, and I'll get 3/8 of snuff from my Aunt Alice. She used to put that on the back of her hand and smell. Well, one day I got inquisitive, and I put a bit on, and I gave a big smell, and I thought somebody had hit me in the back of the head. Then I used to go. I used to go over to the 4-hour bar, and when you walked in there, oh hello Billy, what do you want? Aunt Alice said, would you get a half a pint of ale? And they get the jug. I'll come out with that, and as I go to walk down, then I go over. I've got a load of newspapers. I walk into the fish shop, and they're all clean and folded up. I'll give them to him. He used to give me a penny because I had a big load. And what he used to do, he spread them out, but he also had polythene, tissue paper, whatever it is. So when the fish was put on it, it never, but I can remember many a time getting fish and being out to read the newspaper on it. But, that was nice in them days.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to say thank you very much. Dan's going to wave a camera at you and take a couple of pictures. And so is it Pat or Patricia officially? He's going to help you do a couple of forms, Patricia. He's going to help you do some forms, but yeah, thank you. That was wonderful. I really enjoyed your stories, actually.
I've got a million of them.
Yes.
He could keep going for hours, couldn't he?
I could keep listening to people for hours, actually.
Yeah.
When I was in the army, we used to form fours in them days, so you could tell going back, and I was a little bit slow. I was in the 3rd rank, and I didn't move quick enough. And the sergeant, they were both Irish, and he said, he gave the order, and I thought, oh, I know what I'll do. When he shouted my name and the 3rd rank, I said, sorry, Sergeant, I never understood you. Well, I might just well called him a bastard, mightn't I? He said, right, you're on a charge. I had to do 7 days under him and another one, Sergeant O'Flynn, and they used to have me for an hour in the afternoon, in the evening. I used to go on fully dressed. That's so that the officer in charge of the guard, he had a chance to have me and all if my hair wanted cutting or if my brass wasn't clean. And then I had them. And they used to shout and all the orders and that. And at the end of a week, they said, now you understand Irish, don't you, Wolf? Yes, sir, yes, sir. And that was it. I played dearly.
He's been tremendous, isn't he? Really has.
Yeah.